Hi everyone, my name is Nitya and you are at my Flosstube channel, Daybreakstitchery. This is a channel mostly about cross stitch. We've got a little bit of crochet today too. It's been the end of many months. I haven't checked in since September, I think, September or October. So a few seasons have gone by and I thought I would just take a minute and show you some things that I've finished since then. It's been a long while. It was a really good school year. I'm a high school teacher and it was a really good school year, but I took on a couple leadership roles too and it was just too much during the school year to think about recording. And there were a lot of days when I would just come home and put in 20 stitches into something and call it a day. So I put off a lot of things, including Flosstube check-ins with you two, but I was definitely missing the community and hearing from people and talking to people. So here we are. And I thought what I might do is do a video just with finishes that I've done since last fall. And then maybe in the next couple weeks, I'll do kind of a longer sit down and chat video with some works in progress too. So hoping that this might be a quick one. We'll see how this goes. Okay, I'm gonna get right into it. I do have one thing to share. It's been a long time, so you probably haven't even been thinking about this, but I'm running a fundraiser for Brave Space Alliance. If you donate directly to Brave Space Alliance, $5, that's a Black and trans-led organization that helps the queer community here in Chicago. They're in the south side of Chicago. And I am raffling off an enormous bag of cross-stitch goodies. So threads, fabrics, patterns, a whole bunch. It's valued at about $400, but you can enter the raffle with just $5 donation directly to Brave Space Alliance. And then just send me, I'll put my Daybreakstitchery email address below and you can just send me a confirmation. I'll put you into the raffle. I'm only raffling off the bag of goodies when we reach a $400 worth of donations to Brave Space Alliance. So I will remind, I'm not on Flosstube very often, so it's probably not on your radar. And then in my last video, I only mentioned it at the very end, and I don't know if people make it to the end of my videos, so throwing it out there in the beginning to get going. I'll remind you when I do my works in progress video too. Okay, finishes. I have kind of a big one that I finished in December. I'm gonna pan over it first, and then I'll give you all the details. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Do you recognize it? This is Baldaquin Birdies by Modern Folk Embroidery. And it's just using a floss from Stash, and it's on a 27 count Witchelt Linda fabric. So it's 1/1. I'll see if I can get in kind of close so you can see. But you know, this 27 count Linda has been kind of my favorite fabric to stitch on the past year or so. I think the coverage 1/1 is really nice. It doesn't leave a lot of space in between, but it's also just roomy enough to not get too bunched up. So I was really happy with this finish. This marks my very first Modern Folk Embroidery annual stitch along finish because for folks who've been friends and viewers for a long time, you know I have trouble with the Fruits of Plenty, which Miriam has almost completely convinced me to let go of. Let's just say I'm letting go of Fruits of Plenty, so it's good to have this one as a finish. And what I'd really like to do is enter this one into this year's Illinois State Fair. But I was just reading, you know, it's time to register for the State Fair, and I was just reading that they're no longer accepting mail-in entries for the fair. So if you haven't been watching, you know that I've entered the fair before many years before Flosstube, and I live 3 hours away from my state capital, so I normally have to mail in my entries, which limits the size of the entry, and also it can be costly sometimes because you have to pay for the shipping and then include return shipping. But this year it's not even an option, so I don't know if I'll be able to enter it. I have, there's a guild, remember I'm a member of the Windy City Embroiderers Guild of America chapter, and there's a member who moved to Springfield, so I was going to see if we can somehow, like if someone's going down to visit her, maybe they can take my piece down, then she can drop it off. It's still in the works, we'll have to see, but it's kind of a bummer that they're no longer accepting the mail-in entries, and they weren't really open to chatting about it either. So people can only do what they can do, right? Maybe it was too stressful to handle mail-in entries, I'm not sure, but anyway, I'll keep you posted on that. Okay, next up is another kind of big finish for me. This is an ink circles finish, and I'll pan over it again and then give you the details. So here's what it looks like. And this is The Birds and the Bees by Ink Circles. The Birds and the Bees by Ink Circles, and it's on a Stitch Me fabric. It might be Evil Queen, I think is what it's called. I don't remember, but this was a gift. This piece of fabric was a gift from Miriam, and I was going to do Miriam's mermaid on it, but I had already started her mermaid on a different Stitch Me fabric. So this again is just using a floss from Stash. It's kind of a pale yellow, and it reminded me, you know, because the pattern is called The Birds and the Bees, it made me think of gardens and native plant gardening, and yellows and purples are kind of the prevalent colors when it comes to native plants. So I just thought I would take inspiration from my native garden outside and go with that. So I'm really happy with it. It's I think this is a 20 count Aida, and I've stitched it 1/1, so I'll get in close so you can kind of see what it looks like. Pretty good coverage on that. And that was really interesting to do. A lot of these curly, like these intertwining kind of curls here, had a familiar stitch count. So once you did a few, it would get pretty comfortable, kind of relaxed stitching to do those over and over again. It was a familiar repeated motif, so that was fun to do. That's another contender for the fair if I can get all that stuff, that mail-in option, the drop-off option sorted out. Okay, next finish is a Silver Creek samplings pattern, and let me hold it back here. I'm going to pan over it once again, and I'll give you the details. So the text reads, "The butterfly is proof that you in darkness can be transformed too." And this was a stitch along called the Monarch Watch Sal that I started with my friend Amy. Many of us know and love Amy. And Amy finished hers long ago, but I finally caught up, Amy. I changed the colors, the charted colors for this milkweed to match. This is a common milkweed, so it was charted in common milkweed colors. But in my garden I plant swamp milkweed, which is a little bit more pink, a different pink. So I made it reflect that. We've got all the, like the monarch chrysalis on there, a full butterfly, which I love this butterfly. I would love to recreate this on something else, maybe on a t-shirt or something. I think it's beautiful. So this is on an 18 count. It's definitely a Mystic Fabrics fabric, but I don't remember what the colorway is. It might be chinchilla. I remember getting a chinchilla at some point, so I think that's what this is. So, Monarch Watch Sal. So that's ongoing. You stitch on any pattern that has a monarch butterfly on it, and then kind of keep tabs on Monarch Watch's website to see what's happening with the monarchs. I think they had a really strong year last year. I heard that there were like record numbers of the monarchs arriving in Mexico where they end up during their migration. This year, I think it's still a little bit early here. I've only seen 2 so far when I've been out walking, but I think it's early. I think they just haven't reached down here yet. I hope that's what it is. I'm kind of concerned because I'm not seeing many bees in my garden this year. So anytime you're missing your pollinators, you get a little worried about those guys. Amy, I got to see Amy over winter break and just spend a day stitching and chatting with her, and I just value Amy and Miriam and Sarah and Julie and all my stitchy friendships so much. All of you. I think the only reason why I'm recording today is to put feelers back out there and check in with people and just hear your voices and let you hear my voice too. It's the people that really keep bringing me back to Flosstube. So thank you for your friendships. Amy made me something beautiful, so I wanted to show it to you. She is so gifted. She made me this really pretty quilted project bag. It's got these beautiful shades of green in it, florals, and then this is the print on the back too. So I think Amy and I probably need a new cell so I can put something in here. But in the meantime, I don't know. I'll have to see what I can put in here. I was keeping my Monarch watch cell. I had moved it from a Monarch bag that Amy made for me to this new bag, and now this one's empty, so we'll have to see what we can do. Yeah, that's that one. Okay, next finish, let me show it to you, and then we'll talk about it. Am I holding it right side up? Yes. So here's what it looks like, and then here's what the whole pattern looks like. So this was my oldest whip. You would see it in my very first Flosstube video. I'm 5+ years ago, because this is my 6th year on Flosstube. And I finished this thanks to Melanie and Michael's RPG challenge. They're doing a really interesting stitching challenge where the goal is to finish whips, and you get kind of point totals depending on how many stitches you do on different whips and finishing old whips. And the points go towards creating a character for a role player game, which is, I think it's pretty interesting. So one of the goals was to finish your oldest whip. And so I set that as a goal. Since I was doing that challenge this year, I made myself finish this guy. And it's pretty challenging because if I'll show you a little bit closer here, there are quite a few motifs that have just a lot of stitches in them. Uh-oh, I need to sneeze. Excuse me. Excuse me. So like this horse, so many stitches. All of it. You're like doing all those little like totally filled in stitches, so it just takes a really long time. I love that it's packed in with motifs. So what's the information? This is, let me think of it. It's, okay. This is by Patterns Cross Stitch, which is a designer on Etsy that no longer exists. Also, I picked it up on Etsy before I knew better about Etsy. Now, over the years, Etsy is so, I mean, I know some of our beloved designers sell on Etsy, so that's important to support those stitchers, but Etsy is so rampant now with AI generated designs, and even these past few years, it's so many designers who steal patterns from other people. It's a mess. So I don't even know what the reputation of this designer is, and it doesn't exist anymore, so I can't even go back and look. But basically, I picked up this pattern before I knew any better on Etsy, and now I know a lot better. So anyway, glad to be done with it. And I'm thinking about gifting this to my sister to put up in her home, or we'll have to see. Sometimes you gift things to people and they're not thrilled about it, so maybe I'll just put it up back here. I have some stitchy pieces back there. Okay, thank you, Melanie and Michael, for running that challenge this summer, because I've actually gotten some whips done. I've really been able to focus on some works in progress and get those done, so especially that older one feels great. Okay, next is a tiny finish. This was a restart. So last fall, I went through my whips list, and decided what I wanted to keep, what I didn't want to continue with. Were there any that I wanted to restart? So this was a restart because I knew I could finish it pretty quick too. So this is Moche Iconography, and it's by Peruvian Flair is the designer. That's my friend Anna, and such a talented designer. She's of Peruvian origin and stitches a lot of designs inspired by pre-Columbian cultures that live in what is today Peru, that lived in what is today Peru. And so this is a really cool pattern. It requires 3 colors, but I changed the colors that Anna had originally chosen just because I had these three are what I had available, so I used them. And this is, again, a 27 count Linda. Here's what the coverage looks like. And it's 1/1 with just some different flosses from Stash, so pretty happy with that one. It's small enough where maybe I can make like a needle book or something out of it. I'm setting this aside to do something to fully finish it in a way that challenges me a little bit. I'm not very good about fully finishing stitching, so this might offer up a nice challenge for me to try something different that I haven't tried before. Okay, next up, I have a couple of finishes from Sarah, whose designer name is ModCross on Etsy. And this is one that I'm so excited about. And you will be too. Look at how beautiful this is. Let me think if I remember what the orientation is. It doesn't really matter, but I think this might have been it. So this is Cosmo Bloom, and it's part of a Bloom series that Sarah has been designing. She's taken photos of blooms in her garden, and then she works on creating a pattern that uses as few color changes as possible. So it's a really nice way to get started with full coverage cross stitch without having like 60 or 100 colors to work with. This one I think was 9 or maybe 10 or 11 colors. Max 11 colors, I think. And so you still get the really nice gradients that are almost like photographic quality. Like, look at this petal. But without the headache of having to change like every other stitch. There are lots of large patches of colors that you can stitch before you have to switch colors. So I love it. I think this is, I really love Marigold Bloom, which is usually hanging behind me when I record floss tubes in my basement. And now I think this is my favorite. So pretty. So this is 1/1 on a 30 count fabric. I don't remember who the fabric dyer is, but you know, it's one of these fabrics where it's like printed on the front side. So like it's just white on the back. But I'm pretty sure it's a 30 count fabric. So whoever does those. And this whole fabric has become kind of a sketchbook because I just have a whole bunch of different little patterns I put all over it. So now Cosmo is part of that. So you can find Sarah's patterns on Etsy, and I think this was the 3rd in the Bloom series. I cannot recommend it enough. I think it's been such a pleasing project to work on, and the effect is like really stunning. You'll be working on a petal, right? So you'll be putting like different stitches in, and then all of a sudden you look back, an entire petal looks like just a photograph. It's really incredible, the effect. So good work, Sarah. You created something extraordinary there. And then I'm going to stick with Sarah for a minute on my next finish because I also have this one. So it's also a ModCross pattern. This is Spooky Skyline. And it's on a 27 count Linda fabric. It's a pink. So it's 27 count Linda. Oh, I was going to look in my whips video. I'll do a bit better research. This is kind of a haphazardly put together real quick video. But what I wanted to do is give you the pricing for some of these fabrics. They're not over dyed, these 27 count Lindas, at least these ones that I get from 123 Stitch. So the pricing is, I'll say relatively affordable because affordability is different for everybody, but I usually get these large pieces, and I want to say they're between $8 and $10, and I can put multiple things on them, multiple projects. So, Anyway, so this is Spooky Skyline by ModCross, and it's on a 27 count Linda. I just love it. I think it's very cute. These little ghosts. I just kitted it up from Stash, so I didn't use did I use the called for colors? I used the called for colors on this extraordinary hot air balloon, which is very pettable. The stitching came out so cool on this, like a tapestry almost. And I'm loving the gradients and the visual effect. It's just so cool. It's a really cool pattern. I love the city lights. We live just outside of Chicago. We're fans of big cities, so this just spoke to me right away. And that little kitty's super cute too. These little candy corns on the basket. Sarah's a really great designer, very thoughtful about her design, so that was fun. Fun to do. So this one I'm thinking, you know, challenging myself to do different types of fully finishes. I think it'll lend itself to a flat fold, and I've made flat folds before. I just like with recording floss tubes, you know, when you leave a lot of time between doing something, it kind of feels intimidating again, but I'm sure it'll be easy to do. What I really should do is pick out like 3 or 4 projects that I want to turn into flat folds and then just like assembly line them or something, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, I also did another finish on this fabric. This is Deers in the Wood, and it's by Stitchy Princess Black. Katarina, if you should really follow her on Instagram if you don't already. I don't know if she has any other types of social media, but you know, she lives in Ukraine, and she posts often about what's going on there. Her city's being bombed. She's been displaced multiple times. So direct donations, but also buying her patterns really helps her out. Every few months I try to buy, sometimes I buy the same ones over and over again, because it allows her, like in this, in her latest Instagram post, she said that she was displaced again. She had to buy, I think, a bed for her grandma and some different just like necessities to be able to just function. So the sales of her patterns really help her out. So Stitchy Princess Black, and she's on Etsy. She has an Instagram page, and I'll mention, everything's mentioned in the notes below, so if you're looking for something later, you can find it again. I just used a white floss from Stash for that one. This pattern is charted in multiple colors, but I looked through it and I thought, well, there's nothing really that's filled in or set up in such a way where you have to do it in multiple colors. And it just spoke to me kind of, the idea of doing a white pattern on pink like this felt kind of wintry or spring-like even. So I gave that a go. I think it turned out pretty well. I'm going to see if any of her other patterns lend themselves to that. I think she's got a lot of bird patterns that are just adorable, but I think those you need to do multiple colors. They're not so much, the motifs are not so much outlined like they were in this one, where you can create a monochromatic stitch out of it. Okay, next up, I finished this one by Heartstring Samplery. What's this called? We Belong is what it's called. And the quote says, "If we have no peace, it's because we've forgotten we belong to one another." It's a Mother Teresa quote. I'm not sure what we would have, if we would have agreed on everything, Mother Teresa and I. But I do love the sentiment of this quote. And I think many of you probably feel the same thing, that we're really feeling a time when we need to lean in to each other, to humans, connect with each other, not use AI. I was talking to my, the phlebotomist getting blood draw at my physical this morning. We were both talking about how we need to lean into humans and not give in so easily to AI, where people are losing their jobs and things like that. I got to talking with her about it because my doctor's office switched to like an online scheduling system, and I was telling her, oh, I'm gonna miss actually having, like, the people I used to chat with to schedule like my follow-up appointments were all really nice. They were all really nice chats, and now we're not gonna have that. And so we got into talking about it. But anyway, we belong to one another, everybody. So let's be good to each other in this time of harshness and cruelty. We got to find ways to be good to each other. Okay, I have one more. No, I actually have, hold on, let me check the list. I have one more in-person finish to show you, and then a couple of finishes that I have to, for which I have to put up pictures. And then I have some crochet finishes to show you too. Okay, so first up, this is called the Shikaakwa name tag. And this was an exclusive pattern that Miriam designed for our guild chapter retreat back in the winter. And so Shikaakwa is the native, I want to say it's Potawatomi name for Chicago, what we call Chicago. Chicago is a native name, basically. And there are different motifs here inspired by Chicago and also indigenous icons. So she designed a little name tag with it, and this is what I worked on at the retreat. I'm trying not to have too many new starts, but these little teeny guys I squeeze in once in a while. So this one I squeezed in, and this was on a, it's a 32 count even weave that I was about to de-stash, and then I ended up using it. And I have when I do my whips video, I'll show you another project that I started on here too, an embroidery project. Or I guess a needlework project. I'm not sure what we'd call it. So anyway, I'm putting this fabric to use. So that's that. So I'll have to make a name tag out of this. Sometimes I'll save, I go to conferences, you know, I'm a language teacher, so I go to a lot, I love conferences. I love professional development and talking to colleagues. We always get so inspired by each other, and long story short, I save all the lanyards that you get given at conferences because they make great like I can do cross stitch name tags on them. So my current name tag, the guild asks us always to wear a stitched name tag, or just have a name tag with you, because we get so many different members, veteran and new, and it just makes it easier to recognize people, you know, use people's names. So anyway, I'll have my second name tag. That's this Miriam's pattern. So, okay, and then I'll have to put a picture here. I did also finish Pocketbook Peacocks, which is a whip from a couple years ago. That's a BendyStitchy pattern. And this was exciting because I needed to decide on a retirement gift for a colleague, a really special colleague, a veteran teacher who is very inspiring, just a gem of a human being. And I wanted to make her something to gift her for her retirement gift. And I thought, well, let me go into, instead of starting something new, let me go into my whip stash and finish a whip and make that a gift. So I had actually finished Pocketbook Peacocks, and framed it for her as her gift. And she loved it. She really enjoyed it. And I did change the pattern a little bit. The pattern usually has some leaves floating up to either side of the birds, and instead I really loved that flower motif. So that's what I went with. I just did more of those flower motifs. I think I used my own colors from stash, so it wasn't true to the pattern always, but I used what I had and to stitch that one up. And it felt so good to finish a whip and to actually give it to someone who I knew would really appreciate a handmade item too. Okay, do I have one more? I have one more to put up. If I have a picture, I'll put it up here. I made I stitched but didn't fully finish a Christmas ornament in étoile, and it's a DecoElian pattern. So DecoElian is a Palestinian of Palestinian origin designer who makes extraordinary patterns. They are available on Etsy, but you can also get the PDFs from Maydel, which I would recommend. That's our local needlework shop here in Chicago. They run a fantastic shop. They have all sorts of interesting items if you're ever able to go in person. And they have a really nice selection, like nicely curated selection of inclusive patterns, patterns that are accepting and open of a lot of different types of people. And it's really cool that they sell patterns by a Palestinian designer. So Lauren, who runs Maydel, gave me some tips on what colors I will often order online from her. I don't get over to the shop that often, but one of the nice things she does is I will email her my ideas for what I want to do, and she will kit things up for me or give me color recommendations so I can look them up on my own and finalize what color I want. So anyway, if I have a picture, I'll put it up. This was from a larger Christmas sampler, but I stitched just part of it and I'll turn it into an ornament. And that was really fun to work on. I'd like to do more from that pattern too. And I think that is all of my cross stitch patterns that I finished. I think that's it. So I'm going to show you some crochet finishes too. If that's not really your thing, you can tap out here, and I'm hoping to check in with you one more time to tell you all about some whips. A lot more craftivism chat, book chat, and all kinds of, like, a slower chat is coming in that video. But I do have some crochet finishes. I'll show you those real quick. So this one, I'm embarrassed to show you that because I'm realizing I didn't weave in my ends yet, so don't look closely at that. This is the Bernie scarf, and it's by TL Yarn Crafts, and it's using a Universal Yarns cotton thread. So Universal Yarns cotton is what some of, like, the two, let me get my thoughts together. The two independent yarn shops that I shop at here near me. So one is like 10 minutes from me, that's Die Hard Yarns. And then one that closed in Beverly in Chicago was Miss Pearl's. And I got these at Miss Pearl's. They tend to carry their like basic cotton yarn is by Universal. That's the brand. And it is a beautiful cotton yarn. It is so soft and like almost silky to work with. It's really nice cotton yarn. And so I got two of those. Can you see that the edging one is a little bit variegated? It has different colors. So I used that one as the edging, but it has a little bit of the same blue, the main blue in it. So I thought they would complement each other well. I was curious about this because I think there are a lot of names for this scarf. This was a trendy thing to make for a while, I think, and I was slow to the trend as usual. But I just wanted to try it because it has an unusual shape from the 50 million cowls that I'm always making, which I'm going to show you next. But I just wanted to try something different, and this was easy to make. The stitches were pretty, and I just don't know how to wear it. So I'm going to have to look into how to wear it. I'm going to have to fully finish it and then look into how to tie it. So that will be fun, a fun exploration for the fall. And then the next are all just cowl. I tend to crochet a lot of cowls because they're quick and easy. I wear a lot of very plain, like I'm wearing stripes today, but I usually wear plain colored t-shirts or long sleeve t-shirts. So I've found that cowls are a really nice, colorful complement to my outfits. Not in the summer, obviously, but when it, in cooler temperatures. So this first one up, this was my second time. During the Chicago yarn crawl last year, I was able to get a couple of really nice Malabrigo yarns. They're really nice South American yarns, and they're buttery soft to work with. It's my first time ever using a nice yarn, and these are so nice to work with. But this was a kind of a fingering weight one, and I made up the stitch accidentally because I did my first couple rows. It was meant to be just single crochet, was it? Hold on. Yes, they were meant to be single crochets, but what I noticed myself doing on like the second or third row was that instead of going through the, like underneath the top two of, like the top V of the single crochet, I realized I was going through the front loop and the side loop. So I was putting my hook in a different position than what you normally do, and it started creating this texture that I ended up just liking, so I went with it. And I think it's great. This is a gift. This is going to be a gift for someone, so it's going to be put in the mail very soon. And the colors, the variegation is really nice. It's all just great. I just love that one. So that was an easy, quick and easy. That's about the speed, when I come home from a not stressful, but I mean, you know, like very engaging, exhausting day at work. Sometimes crochet is just perfect because it's very repetitive. I tend to do very easy, like half double crochets, doubles, and singles, which are like the most basic stitches in crochet because I don't want to have to follow a pattern and undo it and all this. Just super easy. And then, you know, when you have a variegated yarn, it's the yarn that's really the showpiece anyway. So simple stitches just work sometimes. So anyway, that was one cowl. This is another one. This was a yarn that I do not remember what it is. It was a yarn from Stash. It's meant to be a sock yarn, so you can see kind of the striping going on in it. But I just think it makes kind of a cool cowl also. And this one I've worn up. Most of these I've worn already in the winter and spring. So I really like that kind of mustard yellow, pale brown, caramel brown, mustard yellow sort of tone is one of my favorite colors. I really love that. So I can tell, at some point I can tell why I got this yarn, but I don't know what I intended to do with it, and now it's made into something, which is great. Okay, this is another cowl using a sock yarn, and this is a Cascade Yarns, which is another kind of, I don't know, knitters, you would know better than me. Of the independently dyed yarns, I think this is kind of a common one, a baseline or a common one. They make fingering and all the different weights of yarn. This was a sock yarn as well, and it has a little bit of modeling in it. And I did the same thing, that same stitch that I was just telling you about that created some texture. In fact, I think I did it on this one first. This was the one where I made the accident on it and just kind of started creating that stitch, and then I made a second cowl with the same stitch. I think that's what happened. The cool thing about this stitch, actually, let me show you real quick, is that when you inside out it, it actually still looks really cool too. It creates this kind of chainmail sort of looking stitch. So it looks good reversed too. So I really like that. I don't remember this colorway. I didn't write down any of the essential information, but I do know that this is a Cascade Yarns sock yarn. That's what this is. Those are kind of, sock yarns are really nice because they make a thinner fabric in the end. So they're really lightweight. It's a wool, but it's just lighter weight. It's not like a, you know, when you make it with worsted weight, it's a lot thicker, so it just feels heavier on you, which for winter is nice, but for fall, and we have long fall and spring sometimes here, and it's just nice in cooler weather to wear a lighter weight material. Okay, this one again. So, you know, I've been on a kick of just using up my stash yarns, not having a huge stash. And actually using the things that I have. So this is another fingering weight yarn. I don't have any of the information on this, but I just made kind of a bigger cowl with that one. So that's one I've been wearing a bit too. The variegation on it is really nice, the modeling on it. And this was, I don't know if you can tell that there's a texture in it a little bit. This was done by alternating double crochets and front post double crochets. So double crochet is a pretty basic stitch in crochet. So you can see how like every other one kind of puffs out a bit. So some of the stitches you're stitching in line, some of the ones you're stitching kind of in the front loop, so it pushes it out a bit. So you have every other one just kind of poofs out a little bit. You can see it on this row. These every other one's poof out. So that's about the speed. I often just make up, none of these are with patterns. I just make up my own, using basic stitches. I just create my own kind of pattern because that's about the speed I'm at when it comes to crocheting. Okay, this one is a gift for a colleague who actually changed schools, so now I have to track him down. But he saw me wearing a cowl a couple of years ago, and he's like, what is that? I think I want one of those. So I made him one in black. So let me look at this real quick and see what I did. I don't know what I did. I think these are just like half double crochets. They're actually stitched. This is the orientation, but I turned it, I stitched the width so that the stitches are turned sideways, so it creates kind of a striped pattern when you turn it sideways. So I made it larger. Hopefully that'll fit him. and I'm excited to get that to him, although it's not the right season. We're about to experience, on public radio this morning, they called it the heat dome is coming our way this week. Temperatures are supposed to feel like it's about 105 this afternoon, so it's definitely not cowl weather right now, but I'm going to save them for when it cools down. We've been having unseasonably cool weather, which is why I've actually, it's not like this cowl I actually worked on, I finished it this week because we've had a longer period of cool days than we normally have, and I've actually been, like, I have another one I'm finishing up today. Hopefully I've been doing a lot more crochet for a lot longer. My hands get really warm, so normally in the summer I have to give up crochet or stick to only like cottons. But with this cooler weather, I've been able to squeeze in a little bit more of this. All right. Thanks for tuning in today. It's really nice to see everybody. I didn't do much like personal chat or anything. I just wanted to do a quick recording, get myself back into it. And I will set up a longer, slower chat with all of our cultural chat, craftivism chat, and everything, hopefully soon. Okay, hope everybody's doing okay, and we'll chat soon. Thanks for sticking around. Bye.